All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of KBN, but not Kayak Bass Nation Live. This is Kayak Bass News. No episode of KBN Live tonight, but we are going to show you an example, a snippet of the Kayak Bass News show that will be coming in 2023. I'm going to be doing this during tournament season, the height of tournament season. So basically, end of January, February through the fall. Weekly or bi-weekly, depending on how much stuff is going on. And what we're going to try to do is bring you the news from around KB Nation on a regional and national level. We're going to scour. I'm going to try to scour the internet here, social media, whatever, and find as much and as many updates as I can find on events in and around your area and across the nation, of course. So tonight's episode, there's not a whole lot of tournaments going on, but we're still going to cover some regional and national stuff just so you get an idea of what this is going to be about. Now, please understand this is going to be exclusive to YouTube. No Facebook stream for this. It won't be a live stream. It'll be recorded most of the time. We may throw a few live streams in here and there, but this is going to be a YouTube exclusive deal. There'll be a playlist set up over there for 2023 Kayak Bass News episodes and also on the audio podcast, of course. All right, with that said, let's jump right into it. We're going to talk regional news first. There's not a lot of tournaments going on, but out in California, the Kayak or the Bassmaster Kayak Series has their Bass Nation state clubs going on where it's warm, as you can imagine. Out in California, down in Florida, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Greg Blanchard took this weekend's W over there on Shasta Lake in California. Looked like there was some nice spotted bass in his limit. 82 inches took the win. Solid top 5. They're all pretty close. Look like some kind of cookie cutter fish, and those guys that could find the right size, just a kicker or so, put them over the top. I don't know what fishing's like in California this time of year, but well done, Greg. Greg Blanchard doing Greg Blanchard things out that way. Like I already talked about, if you're talking regional tournaments, the first ones that are going to get going are down in South Texas, perhaps, but Florida already has their Bass Nation Kayak Series state stuff ready to kick off. They've got an event coming up this week, January 14th, the Florida Bass Nation on the northwest side of Florida. They have multiple Bass Nation series down there. If you go over to Tourney X, you can see on the Bass Nation Series state clubs. You can click through the different states, and Florida's already up and running. They got a bunch of different options for you throughout the state of Florida. Let's get into national news next. So I saw on social media, Native dropped the somewhat updated schedule for 2023's Big Bass Power Hour events. That was a big success in 22, I'd say. They had some pretty good turnouts, some pretty impressive limits and fish caught there. That last event is rumored to be in and around Texas. We'll see once that gets hammered out, but 6 events across the country coming up in 23. I hope to get on location at some of those and get some more information from a personal experience standpoint, not just what I've heard, but good things so far from the Bass Nation folks. The All-American Kayak Series, they dropped their hard schedule, I'd say. They put a schedule out a few months ago, but it was tentative based on permits, etc. This is the final schedule that I've seen come out from the AAKS folks. Starts in mid-March there on Lake of the Pines, and you can go through the rest of the schedule there. The main thing with All-American Kayak Series this week is they dropped an interesting rule change. They've already moved to Friday and Saturday tournaments this year, which I think was a bold move because a lot of folks, limited time off, et cetera, but they're striving to be a little bit different, give folks travel time on Sunday. But this week on social media, they announced they were going to a length limit rule that brought into account the state regulations on bass length for that particular body of water where the tournament's being held, which puts the onus on the anglers to pay attention to what the minimum size length was on that lake for different species and so forth. But a day or so after they made their post and a lot of blowback, they seem to simplify and change that rule. And here's some examples of it from Facebook. They put a 14-inch minimum on Lake of the Pines, 12-inch minimum on Conway, and so on there across all species to kind of make that less complicated rather than trying to figure out what's a spot, what's a largemouth. There was some confusion on why they made that move. Why not just go to a standard 14 inches across the board, across the country, whatever. They had the stance that it was to make things more elite, more professional, to kind of have more of a crossover to the bass boat side of things. And we'll be curious to see how that goes. They're pushing the envelope with different rules over there on the All-American side, so we'll see how that goes for them. The Bassmaster Kayak Series announced the qualifiers for their championship. They put out a Google Doc with the list of folks qualified via AOY points, wins, or through your state Bassmaster Kayak Series clubs. You can find that over on their website or Facebook pages. And then they announced the hard dates for the Lake Chickamauga Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship, not the Bassmaster Kayak Classic. It's the Bassmaster Kayak Series Championship. This is a midweek event. Once again, 22nd and 23rd is not a weekend. So you can attend the tournament, take some time off, and then ease on up to Knoxville for the Classic Expo and all those kind of things. There's rumors that in the future, Bassmaster is going to separate this event entirely from the Classic, have its own awards, things like that, but we don't know we don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. So stay tuned for that and those changes. On the KFL side of things, we saw the Tennessee Shiners re-entered the fray. They've got a new roster, a new team replacing another team that dropped out of the league over there. It looks like that league is somewhat in flux. They contracted a little bit, which may be okay, quality over quantity. The defending champions, the team from I think it was Alabama, the Coosa Kingfishers, dropped out of the league after winning the championship, but a few of those players are on this new Tennessee team. So we'll see how the KFL goes this year. We'll try to keep you updated as we can on any important events over there. In non-tournament related news, our friends at the Bass, Kayak, and Beers podcast dropped some big news that they were separating from the Paddle and Fin podcast network and going with their own podcast setup over there under the Bass, Kayak, and Beers flag. Armando will be hosting the real life. Dan Perry is going to be hosting Advanced Kayak Angler, which is more of an in-depth breakdown of techniques and different things like that. So good stuff from the guys over there at Bass, Kayak, and Beers. But that's it for this week's episode of Kayak Bass News. I hope you guys like that. As tournament season gets closer, be watching for more episodes to debut on the YouTube channel only. So if you're not a subscriber or follower over there of the YouTube channel, go over there and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we drop new episodes. We're going to try to consolidate all kayak fishing tournament information into one short episode per week, or maybe bi-weekly, depending on what's going on that week, like I said earlier. But that way you don't have to go scrolling through Twitter, Facebook, whatever. We can get all your news right here, let you know what's going on out there in Kayak Bass Nation.